What's up YouTube, Afraid Hero here doing the Sanctuary Guard deck profile. The starters and things are going to be similar to like a Thing Saber Jewel Knight deck. So Tiffany is a starter personally. A lot of people run Millis actually in their decks. I personally like Tiffany because she helps get the names for Symbol Me, as I like to call them. It also can get you some good endgame pluses. I think the biggest reason why Millis is the preferred starter is because it guarantees you either the Sword Me or the Twin Sword for the late game, but if you play your cards right, you should usually have the right setup, and you are more prone to the retire on that starter versus Tiffany, because Tiffany doesn't do as much. And you can always shove her into a soul if you really need to early game and pressure that way, if you know they can retire it. I'm running pretty standard trigger lineup. There's just the 4-8-4. All Joe Knights, of course, because I'm not running Thing Saber in my build, so there's no need for Margos. And then I'm running the Joe Knight Isolts, because I don't go through Counterblast often in this deck, so you don't need the unflipping, and it's another Joe Knight name. And then the best grade 1 on the combos for the deck, just by itself, when you go Sword Me into Symbol Me, on your stride turn, it will make a 28 column, assuming you have the other Joe Knight names, which is why Tiffany comes in handy, because you can just keep her behind the Vanguard. And then you'd only need one other Joe Knight on the field, or assuming that was your setup. And then you can make your Sword Me hit for 28s as opposed to 25s, unless you had more 1s than normal, because usually you'll just have the 3 1s in the back row and then 2s in the front. And then I'm running 2 Shellys for 10k attackers. 10k attackers for the same reason. If you have the same condition with this, you can use this skill. It's a 10k attacker, and you can use it with the 6k to make 16 lanes. So they're 25 lanes, but with a 7k booster, it actually hits 26 lanes. So there's always that. It makes for a good pressure late game. And it's a Joe Knight name, of course. I'd consider cutting down the Saber Me's to 1 for another Stride Fodder, but he's just there because you can tutor into him with Sanctuary Guard, Regalie, or Sword Me early game. So when you're going first and you ride Sanctuary Guard, you can actually use his Limit Break to apply a lot of Vanguard pressure, which makes it harder for them to like 2 to pass you or no pass you on that turn. And then the 2 Stride Fodders, I would consider, like I said, dropping the Saber Me for 1 more of these, because there are a lot awkward times where I don't have the Stride Fodders, but I also don't have the 1 anyway to stride with, so it didn't make that big a difference. And then there's 1 Miron, basically a sort of Richard clone, Glare. Anyway, it's just a on-call Soul Blast 1, like a Sword Breaker when it's called from deck. You can use Sanctuary Guard to get him out very quickly and easily on your turn 3 ride. So you get a draw card and get a booster. Grade 2s for Saber Me, the best Royal Paladin card. Sorry, yes. Sword Me, the best Royal Paladin card probably out right now. It's ridiculously stupid. Just getting you Counterblast 1 to get a booster, and combos with Symbol Me gets to do fun things, and you can use a Knight of Twin Swords in the battle phase. So when you're in Regalie, your average columns are about 25 each if you have a 7k booster and just the 9k in the front. So it's like you attack with a column, and then attack with this column, skill, call Sword Me skill, call Symboline skill, boost Sword Me, make it a 28, and just have to guard this 25. It really hurts the hand on the Regalie turns. And then my personal preference, I'm running 4 Tracy's. She's the more or less 12k attacker, same condition as the other Joe Knights. She can hit good numbers by herself, because with 3 grade 1s in the back row on the turn you stride onto Regalie, it'll be a 21 by itself, so you don't even need the booster. So you could call a Symboline behind and use its skill to boost your other column if you wanted to, or herself to make it a 31, hitting some really good numbers. And it's another Joe Knight name. Can't go wrong with Joe Knight names. And then on to the 3s, the boss, Sanctuary Guard Dragon. He basically is there for the name, for the heart, and his on-ride skill is pretty nice, discarding a card to call any grade 1 from your deck. So if you decide to run Thing Saver, you can even call a Tech Gringol very easily to apply a lot of pressure. And then this is where the 3s tend to vary depending on the person. I'm running 2 guarantees for more targets for Regalie. I'm considering either changing this. Oh, yeah, it guarantees that you have the heart. But anyway, bad jokes aside, we have other options like I personally run 1 alt mile because it's searchable and he does have his good on stride skill, but you do lose the fact that it's not a heart of Sanctuary Guard, so you can't use Regalie's skill. But you know, alt mile is good, late game pressure, 5k to the entire front row with Generation Break 2, all that jazz. And you can also run Thing Saver, like I mentioned earlier, just kind of change your lineup around a little bit. And then, oh, you could also run Reverse Ashley or something too, if you really wanted to. It's pretty nice. So 2 Gobblades, it's just in that chance you open really poorly and you really need to get rear guards on your board. This usually calls either the Twin Sword or the Sword Me. That way you can get your board back up. Or yeah, if they attack your rear guards or something and you're running low late game, you can replenish them with that. And then I run only 2 copies of Saint Blow. Saint Blow's not your finisher anymore with this build anyway. It's just there if you really need to, or if your field is just gone and you have nothing, but you're just going to pressure with the Vanguard. Or if you're feeling really luck sacky and just, know they don't have the perfect guard and you're already at G-Break once, and then you stride into Saint Blow and then proceed to just steal games when they're at like 2 or 3 damage with your crit sacking. And then 1 Samuel because you can fill field easily in Royal Paladins. And he does just put a free damage on board. So if they're at 4 and maybe you have an awkward formation that's like triggers, honestly, even with triggers, you could probably go into Regalie and it's probably a better play. But there's just times you feel like Samuel might be better. Or if they just have a relatively large hand but they're at lower damage, that's probably a good way to go into him. You have the counterblasts if you really want to. It depends on your situation. And then last but not least, Regalie, the true boss of this deck. He can put people from like 2 to 5 easily if they no guard you.
On first stride.
Yeah, on your first stride on top of that. You could potentially win a game on your first stride if you have the perfect setup. But yeah, if you don't know what he does, his skill, like Sanctuary Guard Dragon, revolves around having grade 1 or lower rear guards on your field. So for each grade 1 or lower rear guard on your field, your entire front row gets +3. Normally you give +9 to your entire thing because you usually have 2s in the front. But like if you have like a 10k attacker in the front row, the grade 1, then you actually have bigger lanes which get +12, which hit for better numbers because your average number you're hitting is 25, assuming you don't have the 12k in the front. But that's just overall good pressure, and then like I said, there's the combo with the Twin Swords and the Sword Me's in the battle phase to just apply ridiculous amounts of pressure. It's just an overall consistent deck and high pressure, heavy hitting, and it's a really big bully deck if you try it out. I can assure you, you feel like a bully by swinging for large numbers constantly. But yeah, that should be the entire deck profile. See you guys later.